When many people hear the word shuriken, the first thing that comes to mind is the ninja. Shuriken are widely recognized as one of the signature weapons carried by ninja, and most people picture the familiar star-shaped design. However, that image largely comes from Japanese anime and popular culture. What many people do not realize is that shuriken existed in many different forms. Even more surprisingly, they were not weapons exclusive to ninja. They were originally one of the martial skills practiced by samurai. Even in the works of Katsushika Hokusai, perhaps the world's most famous ukiyo-e artist, best known for 36 Views of Mount Fuji, his Hokusai manga depicts both samurai and mountain ascetics, Yamabushi, preparing to throw knife-like shuriken. Today, let's explore one of the largest and most influential schools of Shurikenjutsu, Negishi Ryu. According to the traditions of Ganritsu-Ryu, the school from which Negishi Ryu originated, the beginnings of Shurikenjutsu are far more practical than the legends of the ninja. Rather, they were born from the realities of warfare during Japan's Sengoku period. The tradition states that samurai of the era fought while wearing heavy armor, with even their faces protected by iron masks. Because of this, neither sword cuts nor spear thrusts could easily inflict fatal wounds. The eyes were often the only vulnerable part left exposed, leading warriors to develop techniques specifically aimed at striking them. This, according to the tradition, marked the birth of Shurikenjutsu. In other words, Shurikenjutsu did not begin as an independent martial art. It emerged naturally as a battlefield solution created by warriors struggling to survive. One famous story concerns Matsubayashi Heizaemon, the founder of Ganritsu-Ryu. While resting on the battlefield, he was suddenly attacked by an enemy before he had time to draw his sword. Acting instinctively, he threw a thick metal pin that happened to be in his hand directly at the attacker's face. The pin struck the enemy's eye, allowing him to escape. When people hear the word needle, they often imagine something like a sewing needle. In reality, this was a much thicker iron spike used to attach identification tags to the heads of defeated enemies. It was probably closer to a heavy nail than a sewing needle. A split-second decision saved his life, and from that experience, a new martial technique was said to have been born. Another interesting source is the Gyoku Seishu, a martial manuscript of the Yagyu school, which records techniques for throwing short swords and daggers. This suggests that throwing weapons was not some secret technique unique to a single school. Rather, such methods were independently developed wherever warriors found themselves unable to use bows or firearms, or whenever they needed another way to protect their own lives. Taken together, these traditions suggest that Shurikenjutsu evolved through accumulated battlefield experience. When Japan entered the peaceful Edo period, warfare largely came to an end, and many martial arts were systematically organized into formal schools. Shurikenjutsu was likewise preserved as a secret transmission within various traditions. Practical battlefield knowledge was refined into structured martial arts and passed down to later generations. Shurikenjutsu includes three principal throwing methods: the direct throw, the reverse throw, and the rotational throw. The projectiles themselves also came in many forms, including dagger-shaped, needle-shaped, Japanese nail-shaped, sword-shaped, and wheel-shaped designs. Each school employed its own preferred shuriken and throwing techniques. Over time, many schools borrowed ideas from one another or adapted techniques from other traditions. Although already a sophisticated martial art, Shurikenjutsu continued to evolve throughout its history. Among these traditions, Negishi Ryu occupies a particularly important place. It was founded by Negishi Shorei, a swordsmanship instructor of the Anaka domain in Kozuki province. After studying Ganritsu-Ryu Shurikenjutsu under Kaiho Hanpei of Hokushin Itto-Ryu, Negishi refined the techniques and established his own school. Born into a family of Araki-Ryu swordsmen, Negishi trained under Kaiho Hanpei for 7 years and became so skilled that he eventually served as the head student of Kaiho's dojo. He later traveled throughout Japan on a warrior's pilgrimage before inheriting his family's position. Besides swordsmanship, he mastered spearfighting, jujutsu, and the chain and sickle, but became especially renowned for his expertise in Shurikenjutsu. Because he possessed such broad martial knowledge, he was perhaps uniquely qualified to improve the art of throwing blades. One of his most significant innovations was redesigning the slender, needle-shaped shuriken used in Ganritsu-Ryu into thicker, heavier versions with octagonal, hexagonal, or round cross-sections. These designs remain one of the defining characteristics of modern Negishi Ryu. This illustrates that martial arts are not simply preserved, they also evolve with each generation. The founder of Ganritsu-Ryu, Matsubayashi Heizaemon, is himself a fascinating historical figure. Originally a masterless samurai from Matsushiro in Shinano province, he studied swordsmanship from an early age and traveled throughout Japan refining his skills. Legend even claims that he once split a bird in flight cleanly in half with a thrown short sword. After founding Ganritsu-Ryu, he entered the service of Date Tadamune, the second lord of the Sendai domain, in 1643, receiving a stipend of 300 koku and serving as the domain's swordsmanship instructor. As Ganritsu-Ryu spread throughout northeastern Japan, it became clear that the skills of a single martial artist could influence an entire region. Another figure who left a lasting impression was Kadono Izu Hirohide, regarded as the restorer of Ganritsu-Ryu within the Sendai domain. He is said to have always carried 8 needle-shaped shuriken hidden in his hair, 4 on each side of his head, and was reputed never to miss his target. According to surviving accounts, he himself explained that shuriken had originally been devised to blind an opponent in both eyes and thereby create an opportunity for victory. One story even claims that he could strike only the 4 hooves of a horse depicted in a painting with perfect accuracy, demonstrating his astonishing level of precision. Curiously, however, Kadono Izu rarely taught his techniques to others. He reportedly insisted that he had not learned Shurikenjutsu from any master. Instead, he claimed that he simply kept throwing 2 iron needles over and over until the skill came naturally. As a result, much of his unique technique is said to have disappeared with him. It is a reminder that even extraordinary skills can vanish from history if they are not passed on. Today, shuriken are often viewed simply as the iconic weapons of ninja. Yet their true origins tell a different story. They were practical survival tools developed by samurai on the battlefields of the Sengoku period. During the peaceful Edo period, these techniques were organized into formal martial traditions and preserved by schools such as Negishi Ryu, which continued to refine and improve them. The many stories and traditions surrounding Shurikenjutsu reveal how warriors of the past constantly adapted, experimented, and sharpened their skills in order to survive under the harshest conditions. Now let's watch a demonstration of Negishi Ryu Shurikenjutsu. The target appears to be a wooden board rather than a soft material such as a tatami mat. Judging by how firmly the blades are embedded, it seems that if a human body were the target, they could inflict considerable damage. Also, the interval between consecutive throws appears much shorter than I had imagined, and the accuracy seems remarkably high.